Thank you all for joining us today. I am Diana Lau, and I am the host for this town hall. And with us today, there are 3 guests from the California Poison Control Center. We are starting off the new year with the poison control and prevention topic because learning about this can be life-saving. We don't think about that too often, but we know that in 2020, that's the latest data we have, the preventable and accidental poison numbers were over 87,000 deaths from it. And so it is a lot, and it seems to affect the males more so than the females to the tune of 2-to-1 in ratio. So let me speak this in Chinese. 大家新年快樂，多謝你哋嚟今日參加我哋今日嘅講座。我咧就係劉雪艷啦，就係今日嘅講座主持。咁我哋而家咧今年咧2023年開始咧，今年第一個月啦，咁呢個咧就係我哋今年第一個講座啦。我哋今年嘅第一個講座咧就係講啲非常之重要嘅嘢，我哋平時都冇諗好多嘅，就係講中毒嘅問題啦。咁咧我哋今日咧就係請咗3位嘉賓嚟嘅。咁佢哋而家咧就同我哋將佢哋嘅專業知識係介紹俾大家。So I like to introduce our 3 speakers. We have Nalisa Hijak here, Jenna Stewart, and Tiffany Nam. And Nalisa is the Health Education Program Manager at the California Poison Control System. Jenna Stewart is the Health Education Program Specialist there. And Tiffany Nam is the Health Education Program Coordinator. These 3 speakers are obviously the experts in poison control, and we are extremely pleased that they take time out of their busy schedule and join us today and to help educate the community. So 今日咧就係呢3位女士咧，就係一位就叫 Nalisa， 一個叫 Jenna， 一個叫 Tiffany 啦。咁佢哋3位咧都係呢個加州毒物嘅防控系統裏邊嘅主任啊，或者係專家啊，或者係調協員啊咁樣。咁咧就係佢哋今日咧就喺茫茫之中抽空嚟同我哋做呢個講座咧，咁我哋係非常之多謝你哋嘅。Thank you so much, all of you. This is just an agenda of what you might be talking in later on. So we'll have your expertise sharing with us first, and then there's a question and answer period afterwards. And 呢個咧就係今日嘅議程啦，就佢哋呢3位專家咧就係講一啲佢哋認為我哋重要知道嘅嘢俾我哋聽啦。
Welcome everyone. We're excited to be here with you for the first town hall of 2023. Happy New Year. My name is Jenna Jackson, formerly Jenna Stewart. I just changed my last name. And myself, as well as Nalisa and Tiffany, will be presenting the slides. And we're going to begin with some information about the California Poison Control System, or as we call it, CPCS, and the Poison Hotline.
咁咧，佢而家咧就同我哋開始講關於個加州毒物防控系統嘅熱線電話嘅使用嘅。
So we are one of 55 poison centers in North America that offers services through the toll-free Poison Hotline, and that's the number that you see here on the screen in red, 1-800-222-1222. We are designated and accredited for the state of California as the California Poison Center, which means that if you call our Poison Hotline from anywhere in the state of California, your call will get routed to one of our 4 poison centers located throughout the state. And we're the primary source of poison information for both the public as well as healthcare professionals here in California. We receive about 300,000 calls every year, and that equates to about 800 calls every single day.
So even the number has increased, right?
The number has increased, yes.
OK， 咁多謝Jenna。首先咧就係話佢哋呢個加州防控系統係乜嘢嘅情況嘅？佢哋咧就係有喺美國啊，有大概有55個呢個防控系統嘅。咁加州咧就有4個嘅。咁佢哋而家呢個咧就係其中4個其中之一啦。咁咧就係得到加州嘅指定同埋認可嘅毒物防控中心嚟嘅。 咁佢哋主要就係俾啲來源嗰啲其他嘅人係關於呢個毒物嘅資訊，同埋呢個點樣去治療咧。如果係有真係中咗毒嘅話，咁咧佢話咧呢個熱線電話咧好渴市嘅，每一年咧收成30萬個電話，大概係有成800個電話一日嘅。即係佢做呢個slide 嘅時候咧，嗰個 number 已經係到而家係為止咧，已經係上漲咗噶啦。咁個電話咧就係1800-222-1222。
So the staff from our locations in California are also affiliated with trusted medical facilities. That includes UC Davis, UC San Francisco, as you can see up here. Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, Valley Children's Hospital, and UC San Diego, just to name some of the organizations we're affiliated with. And so you can always call the Poison Hotline. There's two kind of different scenarios. So we have our 1-800 number available if there has been a poisoning, if you are not sure if something is poisonous, or to ask any poison-related questions. And we have medical experts ready to answer your phone calls and deal with any poison-related questions or emergencies. But we get asked a lot, so what's the difference between calling 911? Well, you should always call 911 if there's life-threatening symptoms happening. So that can include confusion or loss of consciousness, difficulty breathing, weakness or shaking, as in seizures. So those are the two differences in our hotline services and calling 911.
咁Jenna 咧就係話咧，依個熱線電話咧，其實唔係就係淨係熱線嗰啲人坐喺度聽電話嘅，呢啲電話咧就係同好多個嘅醫療中心。大型嘅醫療中心係有一個緊密嘅聯繫嘅，即係如果你打電話俾佢，你有問題或者係有啲咩症狀唔知點樣搞嘅咧，咁佢哋咧係會將你連接去呢啲醫療中心，係有醫務嘅人員係將件事係帶領住應該要點樣做嘅。咁到底幾時係要打電話俾呢個800-222-1222，同埋幾時要打電話俾呢個911咧？咁個分別咧就係睇下你嘅症狀係點啦。如果你嘅症狀咧係對生命有威脅嘅咧，咁就要打911啦。咁到底乜嘢嘅症狀係對生命有威脅咧？就譬如當然呼吸困難啦，或者個人神志不清，或者係昏迷咗，或者個人係成身震啊，即係好似抽筋咁樣樣。咁你見到呢啲情況咧，都好得人驚啦嘛。咁就當然係打911啦，就唔好打呢個 Poison Control Center 啦。
So more about our Poison Hotline number, that's the 1-800 number. So we provide fast, free, and expert help. That means when you call, a poison expert will answer your call. So you'll be speaking with a real person that will be either a nurse, a pharmacist, a doctor, or a toxicologist, specially trained in poison. The toll-free line is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days per year. So we don't take any days off. We're available all the time. And there's also interpreters available in over 200 languages. So if you do not speak English, don't feel like you can't call and get help. You can simply say which language you need when you call, and we will get you an interpreter. And the calls are kept confidential, non-judgmental, and safe. That means no question is a silly question. Your emergency will be treated with respect, and we will not share any of your information ever. For instance, some parents might be worried to call because they'll be judged as a bad parent if their child gets exposed to a poison. But that's not the case. We really want to stress that you should not worry about being judged, and your information, your personal information, is secure and will never be shared.
咁咧，首先咧就係 知道呢個中毒防控熱線嘅電話啦。咁如果大家未打落個 cell phone 嗰度將呢個電話儲藏住嘅咧，就應該即刻做啦。因為咧你唔知幾時要用嘅，點知幾時中毒啊？係咪？就算出去食嘢都可能中毒噶嘛。咁咧就係呢個咧，你一打電話去咧，你係唔會等嘅。咁咧就即係有人聽噶啦。聽呢啲人咧就可能係嗰啲受過特別呢個中毒訓練嘅醫務人員嚟嘅。係我都話咗係即係佢哋同好多嘅醫院同埋醫療中心都有聯繫㗎，咁就呢啲咁嘅人咧係嚟聽呢啲電話，嚟教你點做嘅。咁呢啲電話咧就其實係1年365日咧都有人聽嘅，就無論係幾多點鐘都好啦，每日裏邊就算係凌晨3點都有人聽嘅。OK， 所以你係唔需要驚話呢個時間打緊電話俾人，可能冇人喺度喎，咁係唔會嘅。咁另外咧就係啦。依啲電話啦，你如果係唔識講英文咧，都唔使驚嘅喎，就好似打911咁啫嘛。你唔識講英文，但係你要學識一個字，呢個字咧就係你嗰種語言嘅英文到底係咩咧？譬如中文咁嘅 Chinese 啦，韓文咁嘅 Korean 啦，你即係如果你識一個字咧，就對佢哋嘅幫助好大嘅，佢哋唔使估你啊。OK， 咁於是咧你就可以喺個電話嗰度講 Chinese 咁樣樣咧，咁佢哋會揾個中文嘅翻譯員嚟同你講噶啦。OK。咁然後咧，佢咧就係特別關注我哋咧，就係話佢哋呢啲電話係唔會 judge 你嘅，因為佢話咧講咗個好好嘅例子，就係話有啲父母可能驚住嗰個細路仔中咗毒喎，咁係咪即係反映我係一個唔好嘅媽咪啊？即係唔小心俾啲僆仔中咗毒啊？咁我咪即係好醜咯？咁你唔需要咁樣諗嘅。總之而家係如果係你亦覺得係有中毒嘅可能咧，你就將懷疑變咗做事實，打咗個電話先，你唔需要去判斷呢個係咪真係中毒嘅。聽電話嗰啲人會幫你嘅，咁佢哋亦都唔會話你即係同你做一個即係覺得你係一個唔好嘅媽咪，即係呢啲唔會係佢哋嘅衡量嘅範圍之內嘅。佢哋只係一心一意，淨係你話咗啲咩嘢俾佢聽，佢就覺得呢個係咪中毒嘅情況，然後教你點樣做，係好直接了當嘅。OK，
and to note,California healthcare professionals also rely on our services to assist with their own patient care. So if you do go to the hospital with a poison exposure, the doctor treating you will most likely call poison control for treatment advice on how to best care for you. 911 dispatchers also obtain access through their own dedicated phone line to our services. So we assist with their emergency calls.
咁咧，呢個咧又係非常之重要啦，因為其他即係好多嘅醫院咧，佢有個急症室咧，咁有不同嘅病人入去，有其中一啲人咧真係中毒嘅喎，咁佢哋會點咧？呢個中毒中心咧，亦都係會幫呢啲嘅醫務人員咧去處理佢嗰個病人嘅情況嘅，咁所以咧佢哋亦都可以打電話去呢個中毒中心啦。咁就算你打911啦，如果佢知道你中毒咧，呢個911嗰個電話咧，亦都係有一個直線咧，係連去呢個防毒中心啊，咁咧係可以得到啲資料嚟到即刻可以幫到你嘅。所以如果係有問題嘅話，你係真係要去將呢啲醫護人員嘅熱線咁樣咧，係擺住喺自己嘅手機咧，係非常之有幫助。
So now we're going to talk about what poisons are and some poison facts.
咁而家阿 Jenny 咧就會同你講，到底乜嘢先至係有毒嘅嘢咧？咩嘢先令到我哋中毒嘅咧？同埋佢嗰啲事實係咩咧？咁。
To note, poisoning is the #1 leading cause of injury-related death in the United States. So if you think about car accidents and other injuries, we have some recent data from 2020 from the CDC, and poisoning outnumbers all other injury-related deaths in the US. So this is a huge problem. And just to start off with what even is a poison, poisons can be liquids, solids, gases. It can basically be anything that is harmful if you eat it or drink it or breathe it in. It gets on your skin or gets into your eyes, or if it gets into your bloodstream, as with a snake bite or a bee sting.
呢個藥毒品係乜嘢叫毒品咧？佢話呢個毒 令到你中毒嘅嘢啦，就係可能係一個實體啦，可能係一啲液體啦，又可能係氣體嘅。總之你飲咗佢、食咗佢或者係呼吸咗佢啦，如果你係有症狀係中毒嘅咧，咁都係可能你要打呢個電話嘅。咁佢咧就可能有時喺皮膚嗰度染上啦，或者有時捽眼啊，諸如此類，咁就喺個眼嗰度都可以入到去嘅，甚至咧佢係可以直接入你嘅血裏邊咯。咁所以咧呢個係中毒咧係一個非常之常見嘅情況嘅。常見到點咧？佢喺呢個全國嘅意外死亡之中啊，佢係排第一位嘅。中毒係第一位引致意外死亡嘅主因嚟嘅。咁所以我哋有時話係咪交通意外啊？係咪其他嘅嘢？咁其實我哋平時都冇諗中毒原來咁誇張嘅，但係個情況真係非常之嚴重咯，因為佢係我哋嘅意外致死嘅第一個原因。
And although poison can happen to anyone, anywhere, young children are at the greatest risk for poison exposure. And I know we had in a previous slide that we get about 250,000 calls every year. Well, that has recently changed and it's increased to 300,000 calls a year. So we do get about 800 calls every day. And nearly half of those are children under the age of 6. So that's about 400 calls just in California involving children under the age of 6.
聽見都驚，因為原來咧係中毒嘅大部分嘅人啊，原來係一啲低過6歲嘅細蚊仔。咁佢話之前咧我哋講過話我哋而家大概每年收到30萬嘅 call 啦 ，OK？ 咁即係話咧每一日咧大概係有800個電話入嚟係關於中毒嘅。咁如果係佢而家話係有一半啊係6歲以下嘅細蚊仔，即係話咧有成400個中毒嘅 call 啊，每一日啊係關於有細路仔中毒，而呢啲細路仔咧係細過6歲嘅。咁所以爸爸媽媽同埋祖父祖母，你哋係喺呢啲細嘅細蚊仔附近，即係嘅同佢接觸係最多嘅，咁所以你哋要特別小心呢啲細蚊仔啦。
And some of you might be wondering why children are at such a greater risk. Well, they are little explorers of the world, and they do so by putting most objects into their mouths that they come across. So they get exposed to things at a higher rate than adults do. And children are at a greater risk of getting poisoned when there's products either in the home or the school environment that are not stored properly and safely. This might include cleaning products or medicines, things like that. If they're given too much medicine or the wrong medicine, or if they're not being watched and supervised by adults.
呢啲細蚊仔點解會咁容易中毒啦？咁咧就係因為佢哋係個細蚊仔咧係好想知道啲嘢嘅，因為佢係好細個啊嘛，咁呢個世界對佢哋係非常之新奇嘅，咁佢樣嘢咧都想試下體驗下，就擠入個口嗰度。咁所以好多嘢佢哋唔應該擠入口嘅咧，佢係擠咗入口嗰度，因為佢哋唔知邊啲係對佢哋有害噶嘛。咁所以咧關係咧就喺度大人方面啦。第一就係呢啲細蚊仔咧成日要睇住佢咯，成日要監督住佢咯，唔好俾佢亂咁，即係佢嘅周圍啊，唔好俾佢有啲有毒嘅嘢喺度，係俾佢可以食到噶咯。因為你知道呢啲細路仔咧，6歲以下細蚊仔咧，佢哋係唔係幾識嘢，講嘢都係即係好麻麻。咁然後咧，佢哋將啲嘢擠入口嘅時候，佢唔會預先話俾你聽噶。咁咧，然後咧就係你將佢食藥啊，食嗰啲藥啊，佢自己食藥都會中毒噶。佢又可能食咗佢唔應該食嗰啲藥嘅，咁又係會中毒嘅。咁所以咧啲藥物方面咧就大家要特別小心啦。咁然後咧就有啲嘢咧係唔應該擺喺佢哋會接觸到嘅地方咯。所以好多時嗰啲清潔液啊嗰啲嘢咧就係尤其是而家呢個 COVID 咧係好多呢啲清潔劑噶嘛。咁你如果係擺喺佢哋可以掂得到嘅地方，攞得到嘅地方咧，咁就好容易發生事嘅。所以爸爸媽媽咧就真係要將嗰啲嘢咧一係擺高啲，等佢哋攞唔到；一係咧就算喺個櫃嗰度嘅櫃腳嗰度咧，嗰啲櫃門一定要鎖咯，一定要買嗰啲細蚊仔開唔到嗰種鎖咯。
So some key takeaways for prevention with children and first aid with children is to always supervise them. This will keep them safe. Make sure that you have the Poison Hotline number in your phone and don't be afraid to use it. We are free, easy to use, and we're here to help at all hours of the day, every single day of the year. And a reminder to call 911 if there is a life-threatening situation. So if a child is choking, if they're unconscious, or if they're uncontrollably shaking, those would be moments that you would opt to call 911 and head to the emergency department. And then also to note, if a child has swallowed a button battery, button batteries are coin-like batteries that come in remote controls. They come in toys and greeting cards. They're very small and they're easy to swallow, and they can cause severe burns to internal tissues. So if you suspect a child has swallowed a button battery, we always say to go get to the hospital right away and call 911.
呢個咧就係再提醒大家一次，時時要時刻咁樣照顧同埋監督住啲細蚊仔，佢哋真係唔可以俾佢哋自己一個人喺度玩，冇人睇嘅 ，OK？ 因為佢哋會爬噶嘛，會行噶嘛，就算你睇住佢喺嗰個位咧，佢轉下身咧，佢就唔知去咗邊噶啦，咁又唔知做咗啲咩嘢噶啦。咁總之咧，就再提醒大家一次，呢個電話咧係非常非常之有用嘅，請大家將佢留咗喺個電話你個手機嗰度，就係800-222-1222 ，OK， 記都好容易記嘅，不過而家冇人記電話噶啦。咁咧就911，再提醒大家一次，咩情況係對生命有危險嘅情況咧？記唔記得啊？一個就係佢暈咗啦，不省人事啦，或者係神志不清啦。咁第二個咧就係同呼吸有關啦，佢唞唔到氣啦。第三個咧就係佢成身咁樣打震，好似發羊吊咁啊！咁如果你見到呢啲咁嘅情況咧，你就即刻要同佢去打呢個911，咁個救護車會嚟噶啦。咁有時咧啲細蚊仔咧，咁啊 Jenny 提咗一樣好重要嘅嘢咧，就係我哋嗰啲電池仔啊，有啲扁扁地，好似個毫子咁上下大嗰啲，或者好似個豆鈴咁上下大嗰啲電池仔咧，我哋好多時都有用嘅，喺不同嘅地方用嘅。咁咧就如果我哋有時將佢擺得唔好嘅時候咧，呢啲細蚊仔咧當係糖咁吞咗落去咧，佢吞咗入身體嘅時候，如果你知道有咁嘅事咧，你就真係要即刻同佢去個急症室嗰度啦。咁就因為佢呢個電池咧喺個身體內咧可以做出好大嘅傷害嘅，咁所以真係大人嚟講咧，我哋要好小心睇住啲細蚊仔咯，即係唔好俾佢自己咁自由活動啊！佢可以自由活動，但係我哋要睇住佢。
Thank you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nelisa to discuss some trending topics with poisons.
多謝 Jenna。咁我哋而家咧就轉去由 Nelisa 講呢個熱門話題啦。
Hi everyone, my name is Nelisa Jark, and I will now be covering trending topics regarding recent poison exposure trends. So Diana mentioned our pandemic, COVID-19. Unfortunately, the pandemic has led to poison exposure increases. So I'll cover that in this section. So the CDC and the Health Resource and Services Administration has revealed that there has been a 20% increase in poisoning since the pandemic began. And that's due to poisoning trends that include ivermectin, hand sanitizers and cleaning product poison exposure, and poison exposure as a result of misuse of COVID at-home test kits. So just to go briefly over each item, ivermectin is a livestock deworming medication, and it's been trending as a poison, as a prevention and or treatment for COVID-19. I just want to remind everyone at the moment, there is no proven treatment or cure for COVID-19. So we strongly discourage the use of ivermectin or any non-FDA approved medications as treatment for COVID-19. Use of such drugs can be harmful and potentially fatal. Next, ingestion of cleaning products, including hand sanitizers. Be aware that hand sanitizers have a very high concentration of alcohol, and they contain scents that are appealing to children. So a small sip can actually lead to alcohol poisoning. Additionally, the higher use of cleaning agents to disinfect surfaces during this pandemic has allowed potentially toxic chemicals to become more accessible. This has led to unintentional poison exposure, especially to young kids. And lastly, the liquid reagent in COVID at-home test kits has led to some poison exposures. The liquid reagent contains sodium iodide. This can result in dizziness, headaches, skin eye irritation, and to more severe health threats such as convulsions, loss of consciousness, lung injury, and even death if you consume it in large amounts. So make sure to store the kits out of sight and reach, and if possible, lock them properly. Read directions carefully before using. The COVID at-home test kits can sometimes be confusing because there's a lot of steps, but make sure you're following the guideline correctly. And when you're done testing, dispose of the kit contents outside of your home, so this doesn't allow for an opportunity for a child or maybe a pet to get into the garbage and accidentally consume it. And if you suspect that someone has been exposed, call our 1-800 number at 1-800-222-1222。
咁呢個咧就係我哋即係開頭嘅時候提過，因為新冠肺炎咧，其實係帶起咗一啲更多嘅中毒嘅例子嘅，帶起咗幾多咧？帶起咗成20%喎，咁係好犀利嘅。你諗下，如果我哋一日有800個 call 入嚟嘅時候，再加20%咧，咁真係好多噶啦，係咪？咁呢個就800個 call 其實已經係計咗嗰20%喺裏邊噶啦。咁到底咩原因啊，令到嗰啲細路仔會或者係大人啊會增加中毒嘅危險咧？因為呢個新冠肺炎，咁咧就係有3大類嘅。咁我哋睇而家第一類咧就係講藥啦。咁咧藥物方面咧。你知道咧，而家其實係好多不同嘅留言啊，喺出邊講嘅話啊，你食呢樣啦，你食嗰樣啦咁，但係好多咧都係冇根據嘅。咁咧真正係由呢個官方批准嘅藥物咧係非常之少嘅，亦都唔係話你就咁可以攞到，好多時候都係要醫生寫紙俾你去攞嘅。OK， 唔係俾你去攞，即係佢會送嚟俾你啦，或者你叫家人去攞啦。咁咧就係。其中一樣嘢我哋要特別提咧，就係呢個藥咧叫做 ivermectin。OK， 你如果係唔記得呢個字咧都唔緊要，但係咧就只要知道咧就係呢啲藥咧，其實咧就係俾嗰啲牛羊馬啊嗰啲咁，等佢生蟲嘅時候去同佢杜蟲嘅。咁我哋個人如果係因為新冠肺炎食咗咧，咁咧就係會有好不良嘅效果、不良嘅反應嘅，咁甚至中毒，咁咧會頭暈身興啊作嘔啊，或者係會抽筋啊嗰啲咁嘅情況嘅，甚至係昏迷嚇。咁所以咧，千祈唔好亂咁俾藥食。咁咧，亦都大家知道喺中國嗰度咧，亦都係好多人咧就話好多不同嘅藥物咧係可以醫樣醫嗰樣醫新冠啊咁樣。咁大家你見仁見智啦，即係我唔可以話俾你聽係可以用邊種藥，唔用邊種藥。不過記住，每種藥佢都有佢嘅毒性嘅。佢可能幫到啲，亦都未必可能幫到，但係佢係有佢嘅毒性存在，所以中毒呢方面咧係要大家非常之小心嘅。咁第二方面咧就係呢堆啦，呢堆咧就係洗手液啊、抹台液啊、噴空氣清霧嗰啲氣霧劑啊咁好多呢啲咁嘅嘢咧就係要嚟殺死新冠病毒嘅。我哋係要嚟特別為新冠病毒將個環境整得清潔啲嘅。咁但係你記住喎，你抹咗呢啲喺台面嘅時候，啲細路仔又去摸咗又跟住吮手指嘅時候，咁佢咪又食咗呢啲咁嘅嘢咯。佢成日咁樣做，咁咪食咗好多咯，係咪？咁所以咧係有問題嘅，而且你擺呢啲嘢擺喺邊度咧，亦都好有問題嘅。如果你擺喺地方，佢見到呢啲咁嘅罐頭，哇五顏六色嘅喎，都幾好睇啊！咁佢又攞咗嚟飲，佢知細路仔知道咩？即係佢連睇個字佢都唔識睇噶嘛，係咪？咁所以非常之危險。第三樣嘢咧就係呢啲啦，呢啲係咩咧？就係我哋平時喺家居用嗰啲快速測試盒啦，嗰啲快速測試盒裏邊咧，梗有啲液體嘅，咁嗰啲液體咧係有毒性嘅，咁所以如果個細路仔啊唔覺意啊，覺得嗰啲液體個樽嗰度幾得意喎，咁你個樽又可能擰唔實啊咁咧，咁佢飲咗，咁就好大劑啦，因為呢啲藥咧係毒性非常之高嘅，真係會令到佢哋暈眩啊、作嘔啊、昏迷啊咁樣，係所以係 要即刻去解毒咯。但係始終嚟講，一句講晒就係要睇住啲細蚊仔，真係要小心使得萬年船啦，將呢啲嘢擺好佢，擺高佢。真係如果係冇必要咧，你如果係就算用嗰啲嘢抹完台面之後咧，嗰啲消毒劑啊，都最好用嗰啲清水咁抹一抹，等佢唔好咁大毒性喺個台面嗰度咯。大人摸咗都唔好㗎，係咪？不過我哋就唔會算手指啦。
So as we've seen that 20% increase in poisonings, many of these poison exposures are preventable. So I would like to share some tips to prevent accidental poisoning, especially since we're still in the pandemic. First, do not ingest cleaning products. No matter what you hear on social media, do not do it. Consult with your doctor before taking any new medications. They would be the proper individuals that could guide you to the right treatment and care that you need. And always wash your hands with soap and water, especially during key times, such as before and after food handling. You only need to wash fresh fruits and vegetables with water. So you don't need to use any soap, alcohol, or chemicals on the food you are going to consume. And monitor children when using hand sanitizer. Like I mentioned, there's a very high concentration of alcohol, which can lead to alcohol poisoning. And it's also harsh on the skin if used too much or too frequently. So only use a dime-sized amount on the skin. And if water and soap is available, use that instead. And lastly, never mix cleaning products. Only use them as directed and make sure that you're reading that label properly because mixing chemicals can produce additional poison exposure sources. So you don't want to do that.
呢個咧就係Lisa更繼續講咧，就係做啲咩嘢可以幫到我哋預防呢個中毒嘅意外發生㗎。咁咧當然第一個咧就係唔好俾啲細蚊仔飲到啲清潔劑嗰啲嘢啦，係咪？咁咧第二個咧就係話你喺用任何嘅新嘅未曾食過嘅藥物或者係補充劑啊，即係嗰啲好似嗰啲維他命啊諸如此類嗰啲咧。你都要問一問醫生咯，因為你食得多啊係會中毒噶嘛，就算係維他命都咁，所以咧就一定係即係同醫生傾過講過先至好去做。第三樣咧就係話喺處理食物嘅前後咧，你都係要洗乾淨兩隻手，係咪啊？即係當你洗乾淨隻手嘅時候咧，咁你就用清潔劑同埋即係洗手液同埋水嚟到洗啦，咁就一定要將嗰啲清潔劑洗手液咧係將佢徹底咁樣洗即係洗乾淨啦。咁但係咧好多人咧就係喺啲買咗啲蔬菜生果翻嚟嘅時候咧，或者係有時用啲洗潔精啊，或者係用一啲第二啲嘢啦，就喺擺喺水嗰度嚟到諗住幫助啲食物再清潔啲嘅。但係當你沖唔得乾淨嘅時候咧，咁就好大問題啦。咁其實咧Lisa咧就係話你其實用清水洗都得噶啦，就唔使真係要去用加啲洗潔精落去嚟到洗你啲蔬菜生果嘅。咁其實最好浸一浸佢啦，浸10分鐘15分鐘咁，嗰啲等佢嗰啲就算蔬菜生果上面有啲農藥咧都浸咗出嚟咁啦。咁然後咧就要留意細蚊仔啦，我哋成日都叫佢去洗手噶嘛，係咪？因為驚佢損手指啊嘛。咁當佢洗手嘅時候咧就有個問題啦，如果有嗰啲洗潔精嗰啲洗手液啊係好大嘅呢個alcohol 啊，呢個酒精喺裏邊嘅，等佢容易揮發啦。咁咧，呢啲酒精咧，如果當佢洗隻手沖得唔乾淨嘅時候，跟住損手指咧，佢又會食咗呢啲咁嘅嘢噶咯。咁而且咧，佢呢個洗潔精咧，洗手啲嘢咧，有時啲細路仔有時唔知道咧，攞起嚟因為佢五顏六色好靚噶嘛啲色，咁咧可能飲嘅喎，咁所以大家都要小心，唔好俾佢哋自己，尤其是細嗰啲啊。唔好俾佢自己去搞咯，喺個廁所嗰度嚇。咁然後咧就呢個清潔嘅產品咧就一定要按呢個指示去用嘅，所以你未用呢啲清潔嘅產品之前咧，要睇清楚嗰個指標，然後先至好去用，就唔好將佢倒過另外一個空樽嗰度，又冇寫明呢個係咩劑嘅咁樣咧，就到時自己都糊里糊塗咧，就唔知道嗰啲係咩劑，攞咗嚟當汽水咁飲就唔好啦。咁咧，其實咧有兩個 case 咧喺San Mateo County 嗰度咧，就係話嗰啲老人院嗰啲服務老人嗰啲員工啊，係因為將嗰啲 呢啲咁嘅洗清潔劑咧，擺咗落另外一啲樽嗰度，咁咧就唔知道嗰啲係清潔劑，就以為係嗰啲汽水諸如此嗰啲咁嘅嘢啦，五顏六色，咁咧就俾啲老人飲，咁曾經有2個 case 咧係因為咁樣啲老人身亡嘅，所以大人細蚊仔都要特別留意。
So remember that prevention is always key. Many poison exposures are easily preventable. And considering that many of them happen in the home, you could always implement strategies to poison-proof your home to keep you and your loved ones safe. So these strategies include storing medications, hand sanitizers, and any potentially toxic item out of sight and reach of children. Always lock cleaning products when not in use and ensure that they are kept in their original containers. Remember that there are a lot of lookalike products. So for example, an energy drink can resemble a liquid cleaner. So placing a liquid cleaner in an energy drink bottle can result in someone accidentally drinking that cleaning product. Always keep items in their original containers so they are marked correctly without the potential of misuse because we know exactly what we're using. Additionally, keep bags containing medications and cleaners off the floor and out of reach, especially from kids and pets. We tend to forget that the things that we sometimes have in our medicine cabinet, we also carry in our backpacks and our purses. And these are toxic items. So that can include hand sanitizers, eye drops, vape pens. These are things that you can find in your personal belongings. So keep your bags locked, out of sight and reach, so we prevent any accidental exposure and children from getting a hold of these items.
咁始終就係一句啦，小心駛得萬年船。我哋好多時做嘢咧，因為我哋其實做嘢都好忙咯，好多時好匆忙嘅，有時唔係話特登將啲嘢擺低咗就等啲細路仔可以唔覺意咁樣飲咗中毒嘅，唔係嘅。我哋即係有時做嘢太過匆忙，時間太過逼，有時將啲嘢擺低咗，咁就一下就唔覺意就行開咗做第二樣嘢啦，就唔記得將啲嘢擺好。係咪呢啲情形非常之普遍啊？咁所以各位咧，即係好多時要特別留心咯。你如果唔係特別留心咧，你係會好多時好容易犯錯嘅，因為你做嘢急啊嘛，你做嘢多啊嘛。咁我哋個生活其實好多時都好忙，係咪？咁所以咧，真係要將啲嘢好小心去做唔好話因為唔夠時間咧就求其擺住喺度先啦。陣間先擺咗喺個袋嗰度，咁陣間先去擠好佢啦，咁就可能會有事發生噶啦，即係呢啲嘢係非常之常見嘅。咁所以咧，我哋就即係之前都講過，就係唔好將啲飲得嘅嘢同埋唔飲得嘅嘢擺埋一堆，因為好多時嗰啲飲品啊，同埋嗰啲清潔劑嗰啲顏色啊，都係差唔多，同埋好容易搞亂咯。你一下唔記得睇清楚嗰樣係咩嘢咧？你攞開嚟又可能自己飲，可能細路仔攞嚟飲，有可能俾咗啲老人家飲，你真係要將兩樣嘢分清楚。OK， 咁然後咧就係盡量將你嗰啲清潔劑咧，如果你屋企有細蚊仔嘅咧，將佢擺高佢或者鎖住喺啲櫃裏邊，就係大人先開得到，細路仔開唔到嗰種。咁然後咧就最好將嗰啲藥物啊，你即係你自己大人食嘅藥咧，好多時都係貪方便咁啊，攤開喺度個台面嗰度，每日都要食噶嘛，可能一日食3次噶嘛，咁你咪將佢攤開咗，等自己容易咯。但係當你嗰啲孫仔嚟探你嘅時候咧，咁就大話啦，因為你自己一下唔記得，我啲藥咁係咁擺喺度嘅喎，嗰啲孫仔可以伸隻手去就攞到，咁嗰啲藥丸咧好似啲糖咁樣嘅喎，五顏六色好靚嘅喎，咁佢咪當糖咁吞咗咯。咁呢啲就係無意之失。咁咧，你都唔會話諗住個孫仔嚟探你，就會將啲藥特別擺埋噶嘛。即係你好開心個孫仔嚟探你，但係你又一下又忽略咗你嗰啲藥平時自己食啊。OK， 就係咁樣攤開嚟噶嘛，因為平時冇細路仔，所以呢啲就係好少嘅嘢咧。我哋平時唔留心咧，就會引起中毒呢啲咁嘅事件嘅。
So another trending topic is medicine. We currently have a drug overdose epidemic affecting our nation currently, and this has been leading to fatal and non-fatal injuries. Many drugs, including those that are illicitly made, unfortunately resemble candy that could be very appealing, especially to kids. Here on our slide, you can see images of a gummy calcium supplement and a gummy candy. So the gummy candy is safe for child consumption, but the supplement is not. but as you can observe, both images look like candy. So many supplements also have candy-like flavors, so making it even more appealing to kids. So we actually have an educational tool, and you could test your knowledge on identifying pills or candy by going to pillsversuscandy.com. And you could play this game to test your knowledge if you could tell the difference between a medicine or candy. And the whole objective of the game is to show you how difficult it is to tell the difference between medicine or candy. If it's hard for adults to tell the difference, it's especially confusing for children.
另一個熱門嘅話題咧就係藥物啦。我哋目前有服用太多藥物嘅流行病，有好多藥物啊係包括一啲不幸係一啲非法製造，好似糖果咁樣嘅藥物啦。咁對細蚊仔嚟講咧係非常之有吸引力嘅，尤其是一啲軟糖嘅鈣啊、補充劑同埋橡皮糖啦。軟糖咧就係安全俾細蚊仔食噶嘛，但係補充劑咧就唔係喎，所以咧。你可以睇到呢兩樣食物啊，喺個圖像嗰度咧，係好難分別出邊樣係邊樣嘅。咁而且呢啲補充劑咧，亦都個味道啊係似糖果嘅喎，所以佢對啲細蚊仔嚟講咧係有一定嘅吸引力嘅。咁我哋實際上咧就係有一個教育嘅工具啊，係測試我哋可唔可以分別邊啲係糖果，邊啲係藥丸嘅知識嘅，就係呢個網站啦 ，pillsversuscandy.com 係 PILLSVSCANDY.com， 咁你咧就可以玩呢個遊戲，咁你就知道係幾咁困難啦。咁如果係一個大人咧都覺得困難啦，咁又何況係細蚊仔啦。
So since prevention is key to avoid poison exposures, you could prevent medicine poison exposure by following these tips. First, don't take medicine in front of children. Children love to imitate adults, so this may lead to them copying this behavior. Also, never call medicine candy. There are some adults that sometimes call medicine candy to get children to take their medication. We don't advise this because this will confuse children even more and can lead to unintentional medicine consumption because they think what they're eating is candy, even if it's medicine, because we've been calling it something else. Along with not taking medicine around children, it's extremely important to store medicine and any vitamins up, away, and out of reach. And that's a theme that we always tell people because that's a really great prevention tip. And poisoning risk can be found in the medicine cabinet because this is where people often store their prescription and non-prescription medications like cough and cold medicines or iron supplements and other vitamins. So that is why we want them stored out of sight, and not only that, but locked because children are very crafty.
因為咧維他命同埋啲藥物咧好多時都好相似嘅，咁我哋咧第一咧就係唔好叫呢啲藥品叫佢做糖，因為有時我哋要氹啲細路仔食藥咧，我哋好多時話，哎呀，好似啲糖咁嘅嚟食粒糖好甜嘅，你食咗佢啦，乖乖地每日食一粒，咁嗰啲好多時啲細路仔嘅維他命咧都整到啲糖咁樣，又係好靚嘅啲顏色，咁咧大人咧又叫佢做糖喎，咁啲細路仔咪好混淆咯，都唔知邊啲係糖食得嘅，有邊啲係藥物唔可以食咁多嘅，咁你有時候俾啲維他命佢食，佢都有食㗎，係咪？咁佢又以為係糖咁，但係如果你唔喺度嘅時候，佢如果真係自己可以攞到啲維他命食嘅時候，食得多嘅時候，咁係會中毒㗎喎，係好嘢食得多都會中毒㗎喎，所以大家要小心。咁咧，同埋咧就係好多時我哋食藥咧，最好就唔好喺細路仔面前食，等佢唔好知道哦嗰樽嘢婆婆公公爸爸媽媽都食㗎喎，咁我都可以食啦。咁佢又你唔喺度嘅時候，佢又自己走去攞嚟食 ，OK？ 所以最好就係避開佢嘅眼前去食呢啲藥。咁然後咧，當然我哋就不嬲都係話要將呢啲藥將佢擺好㗎啦，係咪？
Now I'll be discussing my last topic, which is on cannabis. So marijuana, which is also known as cannabis, is becoming more popular and easy to obtain here in the US. Cannabis can be ingested by consuming edibles or inhaled through smoking marijuana products. Edibles are products containing cannabinoids, the elements in cannabis that give you that high feeling. So edibles are cannabinoid-containing products that you can eat or drink. Child exposure of edibles has been steadily increasing since 2017. Recent data with children under the age of 5 ingesting edibles has actually risen a high amount. And that's by 1,375% increase in just the last 5 years. And this is from data that we've obtained from the National Poison Data System. And that is the portal that gathers all poison exposures through the Poison Hotline throughout the entire North America. So we also collect analytics here at California Poison Control. And here on the slide measures children and young adults who have experienced human poison exposure as a result of cannabis exposure. And the chart depicts poison exposure calls that have been made to CPCS from January 2017 to October 2021. And just to note that these are self-reported calls. So there are a lot of instances where someone might refrain to call the poison hotline and go straight to the medical doctor or the emergency room. Those numbers may not be captured here. So the numbers could be much higher than what I'm sharing right now. And in the last 5 years, around 4,500 marijuana poison exposure calls were made to the poison hotline here in California. Around half of that, 2,200, were affected children under the age of 5, and the other half were children 6 to 19 years of age.
呢張咧就係大麻同埋兒童因為食咗呢啲大麻嘅藥品咧係中毒嘅，咁咧。大家睇下咧，就係呢幅圖咧，其實咧就係呢個食咗大麻，然後嘅情況啊。咁咧發覺咧，原來咧就係呢個細蚊仔咧，如果係5歲以下嘅細蚊仔，就係用綠色嗰度嚟代表咧，係即係有成一半嘅細蚊仔咧係5歲以下咧，係因為接觸到呢啲大麻嘅藥品咧，而係中毒嘅。咁大個啲嗰啲咧，6歲至19歲嘅咧都有喎，不過咧個倍數係少啲。咁咧佢哋都係接觸到呢啲大麻嘅藥品嚟到中毒嘅。有啲人特登食啦。咁但係其實呢個圖咧，Nelisa 話咧，呢個圖咧係大代表唔到真係因為大麻廣泛食用嚟到中毒嘅情況嘅，因為有好多人咧，當佢有大麻中毒嘅時候咧，佢可能已經神志不清啊，或者係即係呼吸困難咁樣咧，咁佢係會直接去醫院打911嘅。咁呢啲人咧直接去911呢度急救入咗急症室嘅啦，咁咧呢啲嘅data 咧就係冇計到嘅，冇計到即係呢啲人呢張圖係冇計到嗰啲人嘅，咁所以咧。真係因為呢個大麻而中毒嘅人咧，係比呢個係應該係相對係多好多嘅。咁咧就係喺呢個2017年到2021年嘅時間咧，喺加州嗰度咧就已經有寫咗係4511個人係因為大麻而有中毒嘅。咁呢啲大麻裏邊咧就有成50% 係5歲以下嘅細蚊仔。亦都係有成50% 係自6至19歲嘅細蚊仔嘅，咁即係大部分呢啲中毒嘅人咧，都係喺19歲以下嘅細蚊仔咯。咁大麻中毒咧，大麻其實係好多人用嘅，而家係越嚟越多人用咧。我最近睇到一張嘢咧，就係話4個人之中啊，有一個咧係會用大麻嚟到解決痛楚嘅。即係我哋通常食痛啊，咁你食啲止痛藥㗎嘛，但係咧而家個趨勢咧就係好多人咧。唔係食止痛藥，係用大麻去止痛。咁呢個情況咧係越嚟越嚴重嘅，所以係越嚟越多人食大麻。咁所以亦都係引致好多父母家長係對呢件事非常之關注。
So as more people have cannabis around their home, accidents have become more common. Cannabis side effects are affected by various factors, which are especially dependent on who is consuming the cannabis product. Side effects and cannabis poison exposure symptoms vary between adults and children. Adults who take too much cannabis can have unpleasant symptoms, including dizziness, weakness, slurred speech. It can also cause confusion, unrealistic fears, panic attacks, problems with thinking, and problems with coordination. Children, on the other hand, who eat or drink cannabis products can have more serious side effects. And these side effects include slow heart rate, difficulty breathing, coma, which will require hospitalization. So if you suspect a child has taken any amount of cannabis, call the California Poison Control immediately at 1-800-222-1222.
咁請你哋記住呢個電話啦，就係1800-222-1222。咁係有時真係急時嘅時候咧，係非常之有用嘅。咁咧，我哋而家咧就講，咁到底你話食大麻細路仔會中毒，咁到底點樣中毒咧？我點知道佢中毒咧？中毒係有症狀嘅。咁通常咧分開嚟講，大人嘅症狀咧，同埋細路仔中毒嘅情況咧係唔同嘅，所以嗰啲症狀都唔同嘅。咁喺大人方面咧，佢咧就可能覺得頭暈啦，或者覺得好弱啊，即係好冇力啊，咁或者咧口齒不清、言語不清。咁於是咧呢個咧就係大人方面啦，但係細路仔咧就嚴重好多喎。咁因為佢個人細啊嘛，咁你中咗毒嘅時候咧，嗰個毒量喺身體咧發作個聲能係大好多嘅。咁佢第一，佢可能個心跳咧跌得好慢嘅。咁如果心跳跌得慢咧，咁當然係有非常大嘅危險啦，係嘛？咁然後咧，佢呼吸就困難啦。咁或者咧就會昏迷咗，或者咁咧就要去住醫院嘅。咁所以咧喺大人方面咧，好多時就佢中毒咧，即係食得多滯咧，咁佢係唔需要去醫院啦。但係細路仔咧就係因為佢嘅情況係嚴重好多，咁咧就需要去住醫院，甚至需要住呢個深切治療室嘅。咁咧所以咧就係話，因為呢啲咁大麻咧對細路仔嘅影響咁大啊，咁咧就更加要小心啦。你如果係需要食大麻嚟到止痛嘅，你就真係好好地喺屋企嗰度擺好啲，就唔好俾佢睇到你點樣食用，同埋將佢鎖喺啲櫃嗰度。咁咧係即係你要負有責任咁樣去食用呢啲大麻咯。咁如果真係有咩問題嘅時候，再提大家一次係1800-222-1222。我哋講咗咁多次咧，就係等你係過咗呢一堂之後咧，你係會記得呢個 number， 就唔收咗入手機都好，但係你嘅心已經記住咗呢個 number 噶啦。
So just as a reminder, prevention is key to keep children in our lives safe from marijuana exposure. So just a few tips when it comes to marijuana products. Keep all cannabis products locked away, like medications or alcohol, where they cannot be reached by children. Remember that marijuana products, especially edibles, can look like regular food items. So always keep them in their original packaging so they're marked properly. Store them in locked cabinets. And just like you treat alcoholic beverages, they should be consumed responsibly. So use common sense, just like you wouldn't share alcohol with younger kids. You shouldn't have edibles or marijuana containing products lying around because they're a poison hazard. And if there is a chance that an adult has had way too much cannabis products, or a child may have gotten into any cannabis products, call our 1-800 24-hour poison control hotline, 1-800-222-1222, as you could see here in the screen, because they will be able to give you the proper advice on what to do during that situation.
所以要提醒大家一下，預防係關鍵，要等我哋嘅細蚊仔喺佢哋生活中遠離大麻。記住大麻產品有一啲包裝起嚟係好似好普通嘅食物嚟嘅，所以我哋要將佢哋留喺自己有標記嘅原包裝，並且妥善咁樣存放喺上咗鎖嘅櫃子裏邊，就唔好等細路仔自己可以攞到。就好似你哋對待酒精嘅飲品一樣咯，係應該負責任咁樣去消費，唔好等同一啲年幼嘅細蚊仔分享酒精或者含有大麻嘅產品或者食物。因為呢啲都係有危險嘅毒藥嘅。如果係有成年人或者係細蚊仔食咗太多嘅大麻產品咧，就請致電我哋嘅毒物控制熱線，係1800-222-1222。
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany Nam, and like Nalisa just mentioned, I'll be introducing you to our free resources.
咁啊 ，Tiffany 而家咧就係同我哋講呢個加州毒物防控系統嘅免費資源。
So we have a dedicated webpage for all of our resources, which you can access online by scanning this QR code on the left with a smartphone camera or through the link here at www.flowcode.com/page/calpoison. I've already inserted the link into the chat as well if you don't have a smartphone handy. So here on this webpage, you'll find our website, as well as social media channels, our YouTube. Our YouTube contains public service announcement videos and many more resources, such as an interactive story map, public newsletter sign-up page, and the pills versus candy game that you just saw on the earlier slide.
咁呢個如果大家係有手機嘅咧，就可以將呢個 QR code 掃描咗佢，咁然後咧你就可以睇到裏邊咧呢個加州防控系統裏邊嘅資源噶啦。咁咧裏邊有一啲教育嘅資源啦，有呢個網站啦，同埋有一啲呢個社交媒體嘅資料嘅。咁咧亦都有呢個 YouTube 嘅幻象錄影。
You can also visit our newly updated webpage, which is available on our website as well. And the URL goes www.calpoison.org/materials. I'll paste the link into the chat as well. So this page contains the link to ordering free health education materials. What that means is you can order materials such as our California Poison Control System brochures, phone stickers, and plant posters right to your door for free and free shipping within California. And some of our popular materials are also available in California's top 10 spoken languages, including Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean, and Tagalog. And you can also download our newly updated electronic flyers in PDF format in a variety of languages, again, including in Chinese, Vietnamese, and Tagalog.
咁呢個加州嘅防控系統咧，係防控中毒嘅系統啦嚇，係一個非常之有用嘅有一個非常之有用嘅網站嘅。當你入咗呢個網站嗰時候咧，即係紅色嗰啲字咧，而家呢個網站嘅地址咧係喺呢個 chat 嗰個講嘢個 box 嗰度咧，佢係寫咗喺度嘅。如果你去 chat box 嗰度，你係可以將佢印咗出嚟嘅 ，OK。然後咧就裏邊。如果當你入咗呢個網站嘅時候咧，裏邊係有啲文件你可以下載。咁呢啲文件咧，亦都係有不同嘅語言嘅。咁你係可以講係咩語言啊？咁佢哋都係可以，你係可以申請將呢啲小冊子啊諸如此類咧，係寄俾你嘅。咁所以咧就係除咗喺網站可以睇到，佢亦都可以收到一啲小冊子嘅。
So now that you have learned where to get our resources, just remember, make sure you save this Poison Hotline number into your phone because you want to have it ready in case you need it and when you need it and before you need it. Hopefully you don't have to need it in the future, but it is 1-800-222-1222. And again, our hotline is available 24/7.
咁呢個電話咧就真係想大家係擺咗入個手機嗰度，你可以寫住係中毒啊，或者係寫 poison 呢個字啊，咁你一打落去咧，咁個字會跳翻出嚟，咁你可以 call 呢個電話咯。咁咧就係1800-222-1222。
So this is actually a national number that we share amongst the 55 poison control centers nationwide. So you can call anywhere, but the point that I'm making is if you call this number within California, you'll be routed to the California Poison Control System. But if you're outside of California, you'll be routed to the specific state that you're currently in.
如果你打呢個電話咧，就算你唔喺加州咧，佢都會將呢個電話咧轉翻過去你自己本州嗰度嗰個防控中心嘅。嗰個中毒防控中心，咁所以咧，你記住呢個電話咧就冇錯噶啦。你總之就係一條大路可以通到處嘅地方 ，OK？ 記住10002221222。
So this is our very last slide, everyone. Again, if you have a poison-related question, please call our poison hotline at 1-800-222-1222. But if you have any general questions related to the health education program, the work that we do, or for our team, you can contact us at healthed@calpoison.org, or feel free to browse our website at www.calpoison.org. If you email us at healthed@calpoison.org, one of us will be getting back to you as soon as possible. And then that was the end of the presentation. Thank you everyone for your time for listening. And I think we'll have a little bit of time right now to answer any questions from the audience. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. 咁大家都寫低咗呢個 number 啦嚇。咁如果你有問題咧，你係可以上佢個網站嗰度查閱，或者係電郵佢哋嘅。OK， 咁你哋寫低咗呢啲未啊 ？health@calpoison.org， 咁你都好容易記嘅。OK， 咁而家咧就係問答時間，我哋有幾條問題啊。首先想問下嘅同食物好有關係嘅，咁咧就係我哋好多時都話啲土豆即係嗰啲薯仔啊，如果嗰啲皮下邊有綠，見到有綠色咧，嗰啲綠色咧就係有毒嘅，咁我哋唔好食啦。咁或者係吞咗啲櫻桃核啊，或者係蘋果核啊，咁咧我哋係咪要打電話俾中毒呢個中毒控制中心啊？因為其實吞呢個蘋果核咧，我有時自己都有吞嘅。咁到底係咪食咗之後會中毒咧？食幾多先中毒咧？咁 So how about answer the first couple of questions? Actually, all of these questions are relating to food. One is the green part of the potato. One is about cherry pits or apple seeds. And then the third one is on nutmeg, using nutmeg, shaving it for additional flavor. And then we have one on kidney beans, if it has to be boiled before eating them. And then there's this one about robot leaves. We eat the root, but can we eat the leaves too? So all of these are food related. So can you guys help to answer them as to if they are poisonous, and if we did ingest them, what we should do?
These are all really good questions, Diana. We just want to give the disclaimer that when it comes to poison exposure, every person is different. So the same amount of poison exposure of the same item, an adult will have a very different reaction versus a child who has a smaller anatomical composition, so their symptoms might be a little bit worse. So there isn't a general response and correct answer for a food item and the person that is experiencing the poison exposure. So we always like to say that if you suspect that there is a poisoning, or if you observe symptoms, you should call the poison hotline, because when you do call the hotline, the person that you're speaking with is a highly trained medical professional. They'll ask you the name of the person who's been exposed, how much of poison exposure has happened, what the contents are. So an example would be if you have a child and they got through some like cream or something like that, and they accidentally ingested it, having that item with you so you could read out what the component is and whatever chemicals could be included, so they could give you the proper treatment. So it's on a case-by-case scenario. So we totally recommend calling the poison hotline. And even if it's just a question and there isn't actually a poison exposure, calling just to be safe is always recommended, because like Jenna said, no question is a silly question. Being proactive is encouraged, and we totally want those calls to come in to prevent poisoning from happening.
我哋每個人啊個身體嘅反應咧都唔同嘅，咁同一樣嘢食喺一個大人嗰度同一個細路仔嘅身上面咧，當然嘅反應都唔同啦。喺大人可能冇事，喺細路仔可能好嚴重啦，係咪？咁就算大人同大人之間，細路仔同細路仔之間都有問題嘅，所以佢話最好咧就係如果你發覺有問題嘅時候咧，有懷疑就打個電話 唔好自己估，唔好自己作判斷。你覺得有問題嘅咧，就唔好怕驚住人哋話你唔小心諸如此類咁，打個電話，打呢個800-222-1222呢個電話，咁打咗咧，到時咧就有專家去問你啲問題，就可能問你食咗啲咩嘢，食咗幾多啊，幾時食啊，而家有咩徵象啊，即係佢會問你呢啲應該問嘅問題啦。咁或者你如果有個樽，咁佢咧可能叫你讀咗個樽上面嗰啲字出嚟俾佢聽嘅。咁所以咧，又記住喎，就算你唔識講英文，都可以同呢啲人溝通嘅喎，因為我哋有翻譯員啊嘛。所以希望大家就係用呢個電話去求證嘅。咁而家咧就等Alyssa繼續去答呢啲問題嚇。
So the green parts of potatoes, if they're poisonous or not, green potatoes, that is an indication that it has potential toxicity, and there's natural toxins found in potatoes. So if it's sprouted and it's turning green, that's a good indicator that it could be bad. But just like I said, with every food item, I mean, you should always safely store it. Putting it not in direct light can help that process of not sprouting and turning it green. So safe storage, not eating foods when they're spoiled, to avoid food poisoning. And like I said, inadvertently, this could happen and you could accidentally consume a potato that may be spoiled. So classic symptoms would be vomiting. That could be something that's not just for potatoes, but a lot of the things that you can eat that's poisonous. Vomiting, dizziness. But if you suspect that someone may have eaten a potato even before any symptoms do occur, we just recommend that you call the Poison Hotline because, like I said, it's on a case-by-case scenario, and they would help assess that situation, whether you could just leave it untreated at home because it's not severe, or if you need to go to the emergency room. And then for the second question, if you inadvertently swallow cherry pits and apple seeds. So fruit seeds naturally contain trace amounts of cyanide. It would really take a lot of swallowed apple seeds and cherry pits for you to experience any poison exposure symptoms. But if you consumed a high amount of it, some really severe symptoms could include unconsciousness or seizure. So if you do see this, hopefully you haven't ingested so much to the point, but unconsciousness and seizure, remember what Jenna said, that is a symptom that should actually warrant you to call 911 because that's now a medical emergency. But if you see someone, maybe again, like I said, vomiting, dizziness, something like that, call the Poison Hotline and they should be able to tell you exactly what to do.
咁正話講開呢個問題咧，就係話嗰啲有時啲薯仔，咁係咪有毒嘅咧？我哋仲可唔可以食咧？咁呢個係我哋好多時都碰到嘅問題嚟嘅。咁咧，佢哋咧就係答咧，係話最好咧就係將呢啲薯仔咧收藏得好啲。係點樣樣咧？就係將佢擺喺啲黑暗啲嘅地方，即係見唔到光嘅。咁咧就佢就冇咁容易發芽噶啦。因為佢發芽嘅時候咧，其實薯仔呢啲所謂嘅毒素咧，佢係薯仔本身係有嘅，但係當佢發芽嘅時候咧，呢啲毒素咧就會將佢大部分咁樣樣咧喺嗰啲薯仔皮下邊啊，同埋呢個發芽嗰啲位置，咁咧嗰個位置嗰度咧就會變咗好，即係嗰啲毒素好密好濃啊，咁所以咧就會影響到食嘅時候咧就可能會有啲中毒嘅現象啦。咁中毒係點樣知道中毒咧？咁通常咧，如果係食咗薯仔中毒咧，就通常係有時覺得作嘔啊，或者有少少暈啊咁咯。咁如果嚴重啲嘅時候咧，再嚴重啲咧，就可能個人咧就會昏迷啦。咁咧同埋咧就係會抽筋啊，即係不斷咁樣抽筋。咁如果你見到昏迷同埋抽筋嘅情況咁嚴重咧，咁當然好多人都識自己去打911啦，係咪？但係如果你淨係見到係，如果淨係有呢個作嘔啊，同埋呢個有啲頭暈啊咁啦，嗰啲情況咧就比較輕微好多，就可以打呢個中毒中心呢個熱線電話啦。咁好多時咧，我哋都係話你唔好等到有 症狀先至打電話啦。如果你覺得你係可能食咗一啲有毒嘅薯仔，即係唔應該食，你食咗嘅，咁你都打電話去呢個中毒中心嗰度去問下，等佢哋去俾啲指引你哋點樣做咯。咁所以咧，呢個咧就係呢個薯仔嘅問題，係一個常見嘅問題嚟嘅。但係咧，我哋咧就話咁樣係咪要成個薯仔抌咗佢啊？而家啲嘢百物騰貴，咁啊有少少青色，咁啊要抌咗佢啊咁咧，正話都話過咧，就係嗰啲毒素咧，多數係喺綠色嗰部分咧，同埋喺個發芽嗰個地方嗰度。咁如果你將嗰啲嘢批咗佢，即係批深啲啦，咁然後就見到啲薯仔嘅白肉嘅，咁樣樣咧就通常係 OK 嘅，即係可以食嘅。但係如果你煮嘅時候咧，如果你食到係有苦味啊，如果你食到苦味咧，就即係嗰啲毒素咧都幾高下嘅，咁就唔好食啦嚇。咁即係要睇情形而定咯。呢個食唔食得嘅問題，當然最好就係唔好食啦。但係如果係都係想要翻嚟食嘅話，咁你就睇下佢有冇個味變咗啦，變咗味咁啊，即係可能啲毒素都幾犀利嚇。第二條問題咧就係話，如果我哋唔小心食嗰啲櫻桃核或者蘋果嘅核啊，或者任何嘅生果嘅核咁樣啦，咁我哋需唔需要打電話俾呢個中毒控制中心咧？咁咧就其實好多嘅生果嘅核咧都有呢個生埃，有少少生埃喺裏邊嘅。咁但係咧個份量就唔多。咁如果你係食咗好多核嘅話，咁就可能會有中毒嘅可能啦，因為你食咗好多生埃啦。但係通常咧真係要食好多先至會中毒咯。咁但即係講翻嚟講啦，就係正話咁樣講。如果就係睇嗰個症狀啦，如果嗰個人會昏迷不醒啊，或者係抽筋啊，咁你就當然打911啦，係咪？咁然後咧，如果係情況係輕微嘅，有啲作嘔啊，或者係頭暈啊咁，你可以打呢個 Poison Hotline 咯。不過照計嚟講咧，就通常係唔會食好多種子嘅。
Yeah, it is pretty much a case-by-case scenario. We'd like to stress that point. But we do have the answer to the third question. Nutmeg is like a popular spice, and it's normally used in small amounts, so that's generally safe. But when large amounts are taken, we have seen severe toxic effects, and that's attributed to myristicin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So yeah, depending on which poisonous source that we're talking about, it has a toxic agent that could affect people, but it all depends on the route of exposure, how much you've taken. So it will all be assessed by case scenario by our poison experts by calling the Poison Hotline.
咁始終都係嗰一句咧，就係食幾多同埋嗰啲症狀係咩嘢咯。咁所以佢要話呢個肉豆蔻咧，通常咧係要嚟做香料，我哋喺啲煮餸嘅時候加落去嘅。咁通常唔會落好多嘅，但係如果你落得多嘅時候，即係可能有啲症狀出嚟嘅喎，可能真係會引致中毒嘅喎。咁你如果係覺得係有啲症狀出現，而你係個身體唔舒服嘅咧，咁你咪即係唔好諗啦，就打電話去一個中毒控制中心嗰度同佢哋講下咯。係，咁佢哋咧就會逐個情況嚟到同你衡量啊，你嘅危險有幾高。咁其他嘅兩條問題都係啲咁嘅答案噶啦，都係要打去呢個中毒中心噶啦嚇。如果你係食咗嘅 ，We eat almonds a lot in cooking and in desserts, and then star fruits. We don't have star fruits all year round, but usually around the Mid-Autumn Festival, that is one of the popular fruits to put on the table to eat. Mushrooms. A lot of people go and pick mushrooms because they're expensive to buy, so they just pick and eat it for free. And so, but mushrooms could be poisonous, right? So, and what about heavy metal in fish? And why is it that, and what does it do to our health? And so then we talk about number 10 already, about the COVID quick testing kits, that the liquid inside could be poisonous.
So for almonds, it's domesticated almonds are generally non-toxic, but wild almonds or bitter almonds have a compound in them that's called amygdalin, which can be toxic. So consuming wild almonds might cause poison exposure. So again, we recommend if wild almonds are consumed and someone's having symptoms, definitely call our Poison Hotline. Star fruits contain a high oxalate content and other compounds within them that can be toxic for certain people based on certain health conditions. And some health conditions have to do with the kidneys. So star fruit is generally safe, but certain people with certain health conditions need to be wary of consuming star fruits. For the mushrooms, our guidance is to always buy mushrooms at a trusted grocery outlet. Friends and family picking mushrooms in the wild is dangerous to consume those mushrooms. So always go with mushrooms that are in a grocery store and you know that they weren't picked in the wild. The health effects of heavy metal in seafood, there is guidance on that. I think generally the larger the seafood, the heavier metal content they might have in them.
So regarding seafoods, like Jenna said, generally larger fish. So there might be a higher concentration of toxic metals, but it really also depends on who's consuming it. So for example, pregnant women are not advised to consume that. So you should really speak to your healthcare provider to get the best guidance for you, because the treatment and exposure to certain things is always different for different people. So that's our recommendation. And there's so many tricky things when it comes to poison exposure. Anything and everything could be poisonous if you consume it enough and too much. So like I said, instead of trying to guess and Googling something, you don't know if the source that you're referring to is reliable, make sure to just call the Poison Hotline, because you will get someone live that is a medical professional on the line who will tell you exactly what to do, so you never have to second guess yourself.
Thank you so much. 咁呢個咧就係杏仁咧，佢話如果係我哋普通喺嗰啲鋪頭買嗰啲杏仁咧，多數都係 OK 嘅，冇問題嘅。但係如果你係喺啲野生嘅杏仁食咗咧，就可能會受到佢嗰啲即係喺個杏仁裏邊嗰啲有毒嗰啲嘢咯。咁羊肚咧就睇因人而論咧，就睇個身體嘅狀況啦。如果身體裏邊係有腎病啊嗰啲人咧，咁就真係要避食羊肚，因為個羊肚裏邊咧有好多嘢叫 oxalate 嗰啲藥物咧係嗰種嘅化學藥品咧係會影響嗰個腎臟嘅功能嘅。咁蘑菇方面咧就真係好多時我哋都知道係有人係食咗蘑菇，食咗啲錯嘅有毒嘅蘑菇咧，係嗰個肝啊係會中毒，咁咧有啲人咧就甚至要係換肝甚至死亡嘅。咁呢個係一個非常之大嘅問題，所以大家都係唔好為咗慳少少錢就自己去執蘑菇啊，咁然後食用啦，最好去一啲鋪頭嗰度買，咁嗰啲蘑菇咧就比較係安全好多嘅。咁咧至於海鮮嗰度咧，佢話啲魚啊或者嗰啲海鮮咧越大條咧越大嚿咧，佢咧個裏邊嘅重金屬量咧就越多嘅。咁啲金屬量咧係會影響我哋嘅腦部嘅發展噶嘛。咁所以咧，尤其是係大咗肚嘅婦女咧，咁你喺大肚嘅期間咧，就可能對呢啲咁嘅食物咧，就係食少啲啦。就算係都最好就唔食啦，係咪？咁咧就即係大概係咁啦。最主要大家又係記住嗰條熱線電話係乜嘢？記唔記得啊？1800-222-1222。咁記住呢個電話。如果係有啲乜問題，有抽筋啊、作嘔啊、頭暈啊、甚至昏迷啊、呢啲咁嘅情況咧，或者呼吸困難啊，咁咧就打呢個電話，再打911，咁咧就係可以得俾大家係有幫助嘅。So thank you so very much. 咁so有條問題咧就係，so there's another question. As China is opening up, how do we handle food poisoning when traveling? Is Pepto-Bismol a good choice? Do you advise people to carry Pepto-Bismol?
That one's a hard question. When you're traveling, I would recommend there's usually your provider and travel nurses that you should prepare before you travel. At least that's what I've always practiced, because it's really difficult to get care when you're abroad, you don't speak the language, and you don't have access to the things that you normally have access to here at home. Depending on where you're traveling, I know that travel departments within your hospital, they will tell you what exposure could be prevalent in a certain region. So they'll tell you to get certain immunization, bring certain medicines. So we would recommend that you call your doctor depending on where you're traveling and what you should be prepared for.
咁咧就係主要嚟講就係你如果係旅行嘅話，咁咧就係比較難啲咯。咁如果你係真係有問題嘅話咧，你都係要去醫院嗰啲去求助啦。咁但係如果你喺國內嗰度旅行咧，你仍然可以用呢個1800-22122呢個電話嘅喎。國外就比較難啲啦。Okay. So this one, please repeat wild almond about if it's poisonous, if it takes many. Which kinds of almond may be safe?
Yeah, I can repeat that. So it's generally the sweet and domesticated almonds that are safe to eat. It's the wild, bitter almonds that can be toxic. So there's certain varieties of almonds that increase the likelihood of food poisoning or digestive troubles. But the difference is the sweet domesticated almonds versus the bitter wild almonds.
主要嚟講咧，就係野生嗰啲咧，就係杏仁。如果係入口苦嘅咧，就唔好食啦。嗰啲係咩咧？嗰啲就係北杏啦。南杏咧就甜嘅，南杏咧就冇咁即係唔會話有毒呢個問題咯。所以啲人咧，如果係煲湯啊，或者係整甜品啊，用南北杏咧，通常都係南杏多啲，北杏落少少嘅。咁所以大家都係如果係有疑問咧，你其實可以同啲中醫師問一問清楚，然後先食用嘅。但係如果用罐裝嗰啲咧，有啲牌子咧係用罐裝裝住嗰啲咁嘅 almond 咧，嗰啲通通都係可以食用嘅。即係佢如果唔食用得咧，嗰啲係 FDA 檢驗過噶嘛，咁所以係大家可以放心去食用嘅。I just can't imagine all the knowledge that's behind all of you that you share with us. Is things that we come across daily that we don't pay attention to. 咁咧，再一次多謝呢3位專家，係由呢個加州中毒防控中心嚟幫我哋做呢個講座。咁我哋當然亦都要多謝Clifford 同埋Raymond 啦，同埋 Sandy 啦，因為冇咗呢啲咁嘅後盾啊，根本今日呢個講座做到中間咧就會停咗喺度噶啦，因為嗰啲幻燈嗰啲 slide 係上唔到網啊。咁然後咧，我哋再提一提大家咧，如果你係冇參加我哋嘅電郵網嘅咧，希望你參加，你就寫信去呢個 ahi.ucsf@gmail.com， 咁咧就話 add email to listserv， 咁就我哋就會加你上去噶啦。咁咧，我哋亦都喺 Facebook 同埋 YouTube 嗰度係有網站嘅。Thank you so very much, everyone, again. So this concludes our presentation today. And so everybody stay safe and stay well. And thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.